finally got my mind tracking. I kind of regret not preparing. I feel like I've been a lap down the whole time, and now I feel like I'm on the lead lap now.
It took me a second.
Ladies and gentlemen, dogs and fleas, pull up a chair and sit on your knees, for we have a story to tell you that we are still learning about. Welcome to Talk the Walk. My name is Henry Moses.
I'm Jenny Tucker.
And I'm Jared Moreland, and we are super happy to be here, and we thank you for joining us wherever you may be.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Everyone. For us. No. I'm not going to do it.
Don't. Happy Monday.
Jared was just talking about how bad we are at time stamping. I'm going to try to time stamp less.
Yeah.
Good.
It's Monday. It's a great Monday morning, and we are so happy to be here.
We're super excited for the week ahead. Yeah.
Can I tell you something cool that I saw? You know, I bragged, or somebody bragged on me on here one time for bowling a perfect game of 300, which is cool for me. But I got to watch firsthand just a few days ago the greatest bowling I've ever seen firsthand. This guy, if you were to bowl every game perfect in a league, that's three games, you'd have to bowl 36 strikes in a row.
Okay.
He bowled 35 of 36 strikes last night.
Wow.
He bowled a 300.
Is he a local?
Yeah. He carries a 241 average. He's insane.
Oh, so he's really
good.
Yeah.
But to bowl an 879.
What do pros? What's an average for a pro?
Around 240, 235.
So he's right there with pro level?
Kind of. There's a house shot, like the way they condition the lanes and treat the lanes for normal league. It's amateur bowling. You can take that same 240 bowler on our shots and normal house shots, put them on a pro oil pattern, and they'll bowl like a 150.
Are you serious?
Yes.
It makes that much difference.
Huge difference.
That makes no sense to me at all. In my mind, a wooden lane is a wooden lane. They put oil on it.
And they're not all wooden. They're synthetic. Some are wood, some are synthetic. And they have different oil patterns, how far the oil goes down the lane, how far out it goes, where it dries, where it re-picks up oil. And then the bowling ball moves the oil around the lanes. And you have to readjust.
It's so funny. People just think, it's just bowling. It's just billiards. Or it's just, they kind of look at it like it's child play. And it's the science, the thought, the strategy, everything that goes into it. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
And it's the only professional sport. Like, these guys can be sponsored by these big ball manufacturers and stuff like that. But almost all professional bowlers work full-time jobs also, because you only make money if you win like a tournament. They can win $100,000 every tournament, but there's the travel and all of that. It's not covered. There's not a team that covers that for you.
Yeah, no, you don't see professional bowlers and see them running around with Rolls Royces.
Yeah.
They're not pulling up to the bowling alley and Jaguars and
not like basketball.
But that's cool. Yeah. That's an insane score.
It is an insane score.
I think my best ever bowled was like 140 something on clearly not a professional alley. So yeah. Hey, did y'all see? Have y'all been following the story with the basketball player Jaden Ivey at all?
Yep,
I have.
Quite the buzz. Yes, quite the buzz. Quite the buzz. I mean, Jenny, you're clearly not a sports fan at all.
Right.
I mean, we just talked about bowling, which I felt you might know more about that than any other sport.
You did? Why'd you think that?
Because you've done it before. So
I have done it before.
You've actually played that sport.
Yes.
And so that's why I thought that.
That's true.
And
so it's just not saying very much.
And you still had nothing to say about it. So you're not a sports person at all, but you still know who Jaden Ivey is. Mm-hmm. It's kind of been crazy. By the time this comes out, it's been weeks since then. But so for those that maybe don't know, Jaden Ivey was a basketball player for the Bulls. The Michael Jordan's team, and so he was a player for them, and he came out and spoke quite loudly on his social media against the league's embracing of LGBTQ, Pride Month, all that kind of stuff. And so he put out, was very bold in his faith. He did it because of his faith. He's a new Christian, a fairly young Christian. And he came out and did some. Well, he got fired. Now to be clear, he was injured a lot, wasn't getting to play a lot, and so on and so forth. But they ended up firing him for conduct detrimental to the team, where he wouldn't have been let go of before that. So curious as to y'all's thoughts on that. And yeah.
Well, I'm always really careful. First and foremost, him making a stance and having a problem with the league supporting Pride Month, and he has a problem with that. Like, I totally am cool with that. So we know he made a statement, and we know the next day he got fired for conduct detrimental to the team. What I don't know what the rules are to be an employee of the NBA or the that doesn't look good, because some of the stuff these athletes say against Christians and against the faith is totally embraced. And if this is the case, then it's a problem. Now, I don't know if he got into a dispute with his boss over his post and he lost his cool and cussed his boss out or threw a fit and did something else, because the team has not issued another statement in response to the backlash for the story that said he got fired for speaking out against the league in Pride Month.
I feel like where I'm at is, I support their right to fire anybody they want. He's speaking against the league, so I support their right. But I am so proud of him.
Absolutely.
I am so proud of him for speaking up. I don't know that he knew, this is the thing where Jesus says, take up your cross and follow me, but count the cost. There is going to be a cost for following me. So you have that guy. What's that guy that had the hair that was in the football that started all the kneeling? What's his name? Colin or something? Kaepernick.
Yep.
They acted like he sacrificed something. He became like world famous. He was sponsored by Nike, or he did, Nike. So, he is just a billionaire by the time it was done. He didn't sacrifice anything.
Right.
He, in my mind, a lot of things could have been going on there. He did not sacrifice anything. But this kid, he's clearly not the top. He was, probably felt very blessed to have been in the NBA.
Well, he was a high draft pick.
He was a high draft pick, so he was injured.
But he'd been injured a lot and wasn't panning out the way
it was hoped for.
Right.
But he stood for his faith. There's nobody in this country that can feel like standing for your faith is an easy thing in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like your Christian faith.
Yeah.
He had to have at least known that was going to be hard to stand, and he did it. Yeah. I think it did seem like it was a shock to him that he got fired.
Yeah, I think so. I think the NBA is very much a hypocritical organization, just like every other sports organization. I don't think there's a sports organization. Well, NASCAR, not so much. UFC, not so much. But the major ones, very much hypocrites. They will they encourage their employees to be loud whenever it comes to things that they agree with and that they push, like the LGBTQ agenda. And so as long as it comes to that, you can say all you want, but if you're on the other side of that fence, you're not allowed to say anything.
They're not consistent in their stuff.
Very much, not freedom, hypocrites, and so I strongly disagree with the NBA on this front, but
I do disagree with them as well.
Yes,
supporting their right and disagreeing with their policy, very different.
I think they're a nasty organization.
Yeah, I do too.
Nasty.
Yes,
but I'm with y'all. This is now. I have a little bit of a different thought on whether or not he should have approached it the way he did. Now, I would say this. And so I'm kind of thinking through this a little bit, but I was listening to a podcast. I won't take all the credit for this line of thinking, Jason Whitlock, and they had different people on there talking about it. And Virgil oh gosh, what's his? I can't think of his last name. Virgil something. Wonderful, awesome theologian that I follow on X, and he's a very deep, thought out person. But he was talking about the importance of discipleship, and how there is a time he talked about how the disciples sat under discipleship for years under Christ himself. How Paul went through some training before he went out. Just kind of the importance of being prepared to speak out. Not that you shouldn't speak out at all. And then he also talked about, or this other guy on the show mentioned an analogy that his pastor did that I thought, Danny Cannell. So Danny Cannell, how his pastor had done an analogy of letting your light shine before men. And so he turned off all the lights in the auditorium, and he lit a candle. And in a pitch black room, that little candle still puts out a ton of light, but it's very pleasant. You're kind of drawn to it. You let your light shine, right? Then he blew out the candle, and he took a spotlight and started shining it around. And people, of course, you can imagine the reactions when it would hit them in the face was just, yeah. And so I thought that was kind of a cool analogy to strategy, thinking out, taking the time to kind of put together what you're going to say, and rather than just, but I think he's a young Christian.
I do too. I think that's asking too much of him.
I agree. But it was I thought it was a cool analogy to really point to the importance of discipleship.
That's such a great example of almost not what not to do, but like, this is what happens if you don't take the time and care to think about your, this is what I think happened. So he's a new Christian. Have you ever seen anybody more on fire than a new Christian?
Yeah, man.
And like,
they don't care.
He's
They
just
don't
like
care.
sickened by the sin.
Yeah.
He is just like, that's it. I'm Isaiah today.
And he's calling out fellow teammates that say they're Christians. He's like, you think this guy's Seth Curry? Or not Seth. Steph Curry, who's one of the top most popular players in the league. Mm-hmm. Cade's favorite player, our nephew Cade. He's like, oh, you guys think Steph Curry's a Christian just because he says I can do all things through Christ, which I completely agree. He's done a lot of stuff that is anti-God.
Absolutely, yeah.
But man, he's like, our boy here is calling him out.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, let me tell you.
He's going full John the Baptist straight out the chute.
Well, and sometimes you need John the Baptist. Sometimes you do. So I think that what he's done is not necessarily wrong. I also love the flashlight, flashlight. But maybe he was just called for such a time as this.
Yeah, it's admirable what he did.
Yes.
Now, not many companies, and it's easy. I mean, I don't want, this could come across like, man, Jared's lost his mind. I'm really not. But when you use social media and you speak against your employer or the company you work for, most companies are going to terminate you for that, regardless of the topic.
That's why I say, like, it doesn't, their trajectory is on the side of sin. So when people say stuff that supports sin, that doesn't go against them. Yeah. But like, he went against the whole league. Yes. So I think that, I get why they fired him. They live in this world. They don't follow Jesus. Right. They think they are morally superior and that he is not, that what he's saying is not. So I get, that's the only reason I support their right to fire him, because if someone does that to me online, they are fired.
When it sounds like the language they're using, there must be an out in the contract, because if he was a high draft pick and he's paid a huge rookie contract and he's making a lot of money, it's like, oh, he just gave us an out.
Yeah, conduct detrimental is a pretty big out. I will say, whenever these secular leagues have something that, even when the NFL was, speaking of Colin Kaepernick, when he was standing against, that was against their policy, doing the kneeling, doing all that kind of stuff. That was against their policy. And the NFL was not happy about it. And he was allowed to go on for a long period of time doing this same stuff, even though it went against what they stood for. Now they've since shifted their stance, and they're very much down that path.
I don't think he did eventually get pushed out.
A long time.
They had the culture to fight against as well.
Yeah.
The NBA doesn't have
but the NBA also allows, they've got players that have been busted for drugs, for guns this, guns that, gambling this, all this kind of stuff that would also be considered detrimental. And these people are given to rehab. And so, very much hypocrite.
If they're going to call it detrimental, I think they're going to be screwed on that. I'm so sorry I said that, but I think they're going to be, I'm sorry. I think they're going to be in trouble. I
think that's our first bleep.
Y'all beep your ears on that. Go back in time, beep. I'm sorry. I think they're going to be in trouble on that if this, goes to any court. I think that those things that you're talking about are not like someone speaking against them personally. But as far as the contract is concerned, I see what you're saying. They're going to be in trouble on that. Because lots of people have violated and not be thrown out. And he does have a contract. This isn't just an employee. He has a contract. So I think they're going to be in trouble on that.
I will say though, man, the faith like a child.
Yes.
Where you're so excited for your faith. And this dude, so he talks about that he had been molested when he was young and had a lot of anger that he's just come to know Christ, and how now he's fully embraced Christ, and he throws himself under the bus constantly, talking about the mistakes he's made in his marriage, the anger issues he dealt with because of growing up with that molestation and that abuse that came with that. And so he seems very innocent in his confused by why would I be let go of? Why is it conduct detrimental? Doing these kind of walking through and why am I not able to speak freely? I have this contract, things I shouldn't do. I haven't done any of those things. That's right. I did speak freely. And I do. I mean, as an employer, like someone comes and bashes me online, it's going to, like, I'm going to want to hit back. Oh yeah. So that's the reason doing videos about it.
Oh yeah. I do get that, but he had a contract. So.
Yeah.
Like, you're sorry. It doesn't say if you speak. I mean, maybe it says it or not, but that's not what they're saying. So I don't think it does say if you speak against the league, then you're fired, or else they would use that. They're trying to use this other out of conduct detrimental to the team. And he's like, how?
Yeah.
I read my contract before I did this.
Who's the group of faith attorneys that will they're gaming right now. They're
Liberty something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because freedom of religion, I think they're gonna get that.
Oh yeah, it takes them a minute to come out of the woodwork on it because they're doing their due diligence and researching.
I bet they're already at work.
Yeah, but I promise you, they're working on something. They're going to make a statement or a stance, or we'll see.
And then under the current administration, it has a chance. Now, we'll see come the next, but you better get it done in the next 3 years.
Well, I mean. It wouldn't really have anything to do with that. I don't think federal court. Or,
if they try to take it to the Supreme Court, I don't know. That'll start in a lower court.
But the Supreme Court wouldn't have anything to do with the administration either.
No, that's true. They're in place.
Regardless. But lower courts feel more free to just stamp out people's rights whenever, liberal judges, things of that nature that just kind of, I'm going to let this convict off that molested this person or murdered that person.
Let's just hope he gets with someone that just simply reads the law,
Yeah.
Let's just hope for that.
Yeah. But all that said, man, we should all
proud of him.
Yeah. I mean, be well. And on that note, you were going to say something?
Well, I was just going to, something that Jenny started with about there was a cost. There was a cost involved I know where you're going with that statement, but the fact that he put it out there, and maybe he did know that, hey, I might lose my job over this. And that makes it even that more impressive. If that was like, he was willing to take up his cross and lose it all to make that statement, then
he had to have known there would at least be some cost. He had to have known that. It took courage to do what he did. And I'm very proud of him for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. On that note, so would you say he was honoring Christ in standing up for that stance?
Yes.
Yeah. It appears that way.
Yeah. It appears that way. For now, from what we know. From what we know.
Right.
It would appear that way. So we're going to dive for today's topic. I am reading a book by Vodi Bakum on apologetics.
I thought he was going to say Atomic Habits.
And no, I finished that one. So now you'll be hearing about Vodi Bakum for the next few weeks.
Okay.
No, it's on apologetics. And I think, we as Christians have really kind of taken it since kind of the let me just bring people to church movement and let the church do the witnessing, let the church do the answering of the hard questions. It's just become, at least in Western society, so easy to just say, I'm going to bring somebody to church, which I have my own feelings about that. And we've talked about that on here a time or two. So I won't get into all that, but I will say, I feel like we as a Christian body are not well studied. We don't feel confident in answering the hard questions, even with our kids. And so we see our kids fall into these kind of liberal ideologies because we're not prepared to answer these hard questions. But the schools that they go to, man, they're prepared. Mm-hmm. They're prepared to push the opposing worldviews into their minds, into their heads. And so I'm reading this book on apologetics. I'm guilty. I don't feel like I'm overly prepared or well prepared. Mm-hmm. Jenny, I think you're pretty good at it. You're not too bad at it. I definitely think you're better at it than I am. And I think Miles, our editor, Miles Barfield, he's pretty good at that stuff. So right now I'm reading books and kind of trying to study up and be better at this. With all that said, one of the scriptures that Vodi Bakum, who passed away not too long ago, but has an amazing book on apologetics that he just put out. At least it's amazing so far. I haven't completed it yet. He was talking about 1 Peter 3:15, and it was talking about honoring Christ. It says, that's 14:15, but in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that's in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect. Verse 16, having a good conscience so that when you're slandered, those who revile your good behavior in Christ may be put to shame. So we can go read some verses.
Well, if you read verse 17, that's Jaden Ivey. For it is better if it is the will of God to suffer for doing good than for doing evil.
Yeah, I love that. I love that scripture. Yeah. Because it points out you're likely to suffer either way. Mm-hmm. You're going to suffer as a Christian. You're going to suffer because you don't have the right answer, because you don't do the right thing. Because you're going to be tormented over it. You're going to feel sick about it. You're going to be convicted of sin. You're going to be convicted for not putting in the time to have the better answers, to be able to give a defense of the faith for the hope that's in you. Or you're going to suffer for doing the evil, but you're going to, or you're going to suffer for doing good. I mean, they're going to laugh at you. They're going to yell at you. They're going to mock you. They're going to Daniel in the lions, whatever they're going to do. But you're going to suffer one way or the other. Why not let it be for the Lord, right? And but it really stood out to me, honor Christ the Lord as holy. And so I wanted to dive into that a little bit today, hear a little bit about your thoughts as to what it looks like. We see honor God this but here it specifies honor Christ the Lord as holy. So, curious as to your thoughts on what honoring Christ looks like, what it looks like on a daily basis, what different areas we can do that, what exactly that means.
I don't know where to start.
So I know I kind of dryly laid that out there, but I'll say this. I'll kind of kick it off. it says, now who is there, right before that says, now who is there to harm you if you're zealous for what is good? But even if you should suffer for righteousness' sakes, you will be blessed. Have no fear of them, nor be troubled, but in your hearts honor Christ the Lord. And then it goes into always being prepared to make a defense to anyone. And so for me, and this just kind of kicking it off, but for me, I think because it goes into that, whenever we're prepared, Christ, what did Christ do for us? What specifically did he do for us?
He sent his son Jesus down on the cross for us.
So he came down and died for us. And so, so that we could do what? So that we could spend eternity with God. He took our place. I've heard it said, I deserve death. Everything else is a gift. And so he saved us from that death that we deserve. And so going into always being prepared, to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. So what is the reason for the hope that's in us?
Well, I have a way to answer. I want to rewind all the way back to verse 13, because the way I read it and the way I'm hearing it and the way I feel it, I believe answers your question. But the wording of making a defense makes it sound like you're having to defend something. But someone who comes to me asking for a reason why I have hope, I'm not defending anything. I'm sharing the good news and the gospel with them, because it's more of a curiosity. Like, how can you, in the world we live in, have so much joy? How can you be so optimistic? How can you still be so loving? How can you still be, I don't view it as a defense as much of a, well, I would love to tell you how that happens. And in verse 13, when it's saying there, now who is there to harm you if you're zealous for what is good? But even if you should suffer for righteousness' sake, you'll be blessed. Now, in the world we live in Amarillo, Texas, United States of America, I don't think I've ever suffered for righteousness. I've been not invited to events because I may be the holy roller, or I don't get included to some things. So if some people say that, but I personally have never had to suffer for proclaiming the name of Jesus, for living for Christ. So it's hard for me to wrap my mind around that to a degree, because I don't believe any of us at this table have ever suffered for righteousness.
Right.
So that's why it's hard for me to even come up with an explanation, because I've never suffered for that.
Mm-hmm.
But if we just go down, if we just drill down on what is it to honor God? I mean, there's several different ways. One is with your body. You honor God with your body. What do you put in it? How do you treat it? Do you treat it like it's a temple of God?
Mm-hmm.
Do you put good things in it? So there's your whole body. Does it do bad? Does it go get drunk?
Mm-hmm.
Does it smoke? Does it beat people up? Does it yell? Does it do all of these things? So that's one way. And if you think about it, it does go in tandem with other ways to honor God, because all of your body is the way you dishonor God in all ways, whether it be in your mind or your heart. So I think that's why.
Or not using your body. Yes.
Like it's
being lazy, sitting.
Going to be, especially the mouth, does the mouth honor God? And so then the part two of that is, are you walking in a way day to day that is honoring God? So one way that I've honored God in a couple of ways lately over the past year is by not doing the thing that I want to do. I want to fight. I want to defend back on, a specific issue. I want to punch. I want to punch and defend myself. But I know that does not honor God. That does not.
With gentleness and respect.
Yes.
Doing the things that you do with gentleness and respect. I love that it points to these.
Yes.
It kind of gives you a formula following that. Be ready to give a reason for the hope that's in you, yet doing it with gentleness and respect. And so, and doing so in a way that it says, when you're slandered, those who revile your good behavior in Christ may be put to shame.
Yes.
That's hard.
It is.
That is really stinking hard because we're fiery people. We're kind of fiery people
as a family.
As a family. And it's just kind of easy to be loud, to be blunt, to
overpower with your own
even force. To find ways to justify it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Rather than we were talking, I mentioned being Daniel in the lion's den earlier, Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, people like that, Joseph who, walked in humility through all his persecution, being able to, I think, speak confidently to give these answers. One, I would say, yeah, you're talking about it is with the body. It is how we honor God with our body. I was listening to a podcast though recently, yesterday, in fact, on the environment, on our environments that we set up around ourselves, set up for ourselves, what entertainment we allow, what tools, if you're struggling with pornography, what tools. He was using this as example. Do you keep your iPad around? Do you do different things like that? The amount of time that you spend watching TV, so on and so forth. The list goes on and on. What books you choose to read. If you're a reader, what is it? General romance, crazy stuff, or is there a rhyme or reason to what is edifying? And so building your environment, what environment that you surround yourself with, but that takes discipline. I think you can honor God. You can honor Christ and his sacrifice, what his freedom that he came and stood in the gap for us and continues, by the way, to mediate for us in how we choose to sacrifice. But you will change. You will become molded to the environment that you surround yourself with. The friends, if you surround yourself with people, he also talked about a bar, an alcoholic struggling with and saying, somebody saying, well, yeah, come in here and just have a Coke, come hang out in the bar with us, but just have a Coke. Or you're still surrounding yourself with that same environment and saying, well, I'm not going to do it. No, you're going to fall. You're going to fail. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, doing it, coming back around full circle, doing it with the general, it's easy to say it, but what are we doing to set ourselves up to be able to add to your,
your environment? What do you put in your eyes and your ears? Because whatever you put in your eyes and your ears is going to come out your mouth.
Yeah.
That's the data entry. So if what you're putting in your eyes and ears does not honor God, your mouth will eventually not honor God as well. So I would even say that, like, reading the things and seeking out, I said that scripture the other day, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter. It is the glory of kings to seek that matter out. And putting the things in your eyes where you're seeking out God is a way of honoring God. You want to get to know him. And so looking and listening, maybe music, you want to get to know God and feel closer to him. Music absolutely is the thing that brings me the closest to God. So I do not put any music in my ears that's not either instrumental only or Christian. I just don't do it. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but that just for me personally, that is the thing that drives me emotionally. I know it does. And so if I'm going to be driven emotionally, it will be towards the Lord. And so that's another way you can honor Lord, which is part of that environment you're talking about.
I'm glad we talked through this and I finally got my mind tracking. I kind of regret not preparing. I feel like I've been a lap down the whole time and now I feel like I'm on the lead lap now.
It took me a second.
Yeah.
I don't know that I laid it out real well. So it's kind of a combination.
Anyway.
When y'all were sitting there, anytime you lay something out and everybody's just staring at you dumbfounded when you're done, you're like, oh man.
Well,
let me keep cranking on this thing and see if I can get this engine to start.
I'm going to make another run at it. So specifically to your answer, Hank, but in your hearts, honor Christ the Lord as holy. And I'm like, okay, so it's specific to my heart. And then you go to Luke chapter 6 in the Beatitudes, and Jesus says, the good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth what is good, and the evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings forth evil, for his mouth speaks that which fills his heart. And so back to what you were saying, Jenny, about the things we listen to, because I think it starts in our mind And then we dwell on, we dwell on stuff all the time, whether it's good, whether it's bad, the music, what we watch, and then it makes it to our heart. Then our heart gets full.
How it gets there.
And then our mouth reveals what's in our heart. And so if you're a yeller, a screamer, a cusser, whatever it is, it comes out of your mouth. So, Hank, to answer your question, how do we honor Christ the Lord as holy in our hearts? Well, it's going to be the way we speak. It's going to be how we live our lives. But it all starts, it's rooted in, like y'all were both talking about, what are you doing with your body? What are you doing with your mind? What are you listening to? How are you serving? Are you just receiving? Because it has to be in a heart. If your heart feels ugly, then your mouth speaks ugly, or it's a woe is me, or it's a victim mentality. It's not a victor mentality. So that's the answer. I feel like I've come full circle on that.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say, like, and back to, is it honoring to God? Like that, what you listen to or read, put in your eyes or your ears is honoring to God. I read this book a while back, and the lady was describing how they host their church and their community eats together all the time. Like they constantly need meat so that they can make all these meals, and they eat together all the time. It's just part of it. And I loved that. I was so attracted to that in the book when I read it. And, you know, if I read that book about a decade ago, or maybe less, maybe 7 years ago. And I look at my life now. That is what we do. I know that started there. I am the one that started having lunch on Sunday at this little cottage across the street from the church, just to like be with people. And before we knew it, it was we have meals together a lot. We have meals together for prayer night and for us, like out of all of that flow. And it did start with that data entry of reading that and saying, this feels godly. You know, it is a good way to honor God. It goes in the eyes and the ears first, and then you start walking that out, and it's like just the outflow of what you did in your eyes and your ears. And that now your body's honoring God too, you know, by serving other people, because he came to serve and not to be served. And so anyhow, I do think that outflowing of what you put in there is where the real honoring God kind of amplifies.
Well, and I bet in your little meals, I bet y'all have heard this saying many times from men, mainly probably more women, but you'll hear someone when they come out of a environment, community like that, they'll say, oh, my heart is so full.
Yes.
You know, you'll hear that. I've never heard anybody say my heart is so full because they're raging, they're mad, or they're upset all the time. You never hear it, but I would challenge us to think our hearts are always full, but what are they full of?
Very true.
I mean, our hearts are always full.
Yeah.
Yeah, and whatever's coming out of your mouth, that's what they're full of.
And the way you act, it is your mouth, but it's also your body actions.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if your heart is a 50-gallon reservoir and you got 50 gallons of junk in it, it's going to take a minute to flush that out with enough goodness to make your heart feel
very
right.
true.
I love that. You think of the fruits of the Spirit, right? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Fruits of the Spirit. And we've talked about this before. It's just so easy to think, I need to be better at being loving. I need to walk in better peace. You know, I need to whatever fruit of the Spirit you pick. I need to be better at that. And so I'm going to work to be better at that. Right. And we've talked about it before, man. That's not it. That is not, it's the fruit of the Spirit. It's the Spirit shining through you that it's just who you are. I mean, the more you're in touch with God, the more you honor Christ as holy, that you set him up there. Here in the new in the Lexham Theological Workbook, it says to consecrate, to make holy, sanctify, to sanctify or hallow, treat as holy, and so that we place Christ, that we put him in as Lord over our lives, and begin to act on, to do the things, to discipline ourselves, to change our environments, to figure out, to go back and figure out, well, speaking of atomic habits, what bad habits do I have? What worldly habits do I have that need to be rooted out? Or at least, things like TV that aren't sin, but overindulgence that becomes sin. What changes do I need to make that's going to put Christ on the throne of my heart, and that's going to then change me to where I do begin to exhibit that fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah. But it has to start with, I kind of wish it would say, fruit of the Spirit. It's almost the fruit of the relationship. Mm-hmm. You don't get a fruit tree without a seed. I mean, so first you have to accept Jesus, and then you have to pursue him through his word and through prayer. And then you have to begin to apply what you read and what you hear. And then you start getting buds on your tree of these pieces of fruit. Yeah. But to your point, Hank, you're not just going to tomorrow start loving better and just find some joy better. It's the fruit of the relationship. If you don't have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control, if you don't have it, I'd be willing to bet you don't have a very good relationship with Jesus.
Right. And I say, there are so many things we attack and try to conquer in our lives. Attack that and try to conquer that. Look at the fruit of your life. What's going on in the fruit of your life right now? Is it filled with, frustration or sadness or pain or anger? What's going on? Then you're going to have some of those things, like things are coming for you that are out of your control, but do you still have a peace, a foundation of peace is what I would say. Not just like I can find peace for this moment, but do you have a foundation of peace? And, look at your life, because just, proclaiming that Jesus is Lord with your mouth, that's a step, and applaud for that step. But that's not all. Like he came so that you could have life. And so take a look at it and attack that problem. I mean, these are some ways, these are some really good steps that I'm glad that you talked about environment, Henry. And then you followed up with this wonderful thing of reservoir of heart being full. And really the reason that reservoir would be full of just, black as oil water, or junk filth, would be because of your environment and what you put in your eyes and your ears. Mm-hmm. And so you can take this step. We can take this step. We can all take this step of attacking that problem. It is hard to do it overnight. It is. But if that's your focus, and really life is so much better lived in the peace of Jesus, which is everything that he asks us to do, like honor him. This brings peace. Yes. These honoring things brings this peace, and to where it doesn't matter what's happening to you. You don't have to be afraid of what's going to happen tomorrow, of losing a loved one, or of of losing money, losing your job. You don't have to be afraid of that. You don't have to be afraid of it anymore. If you are honoring God and walking with his foundation of peace, that fear, it's not that it doesn't hurt, because the pain will always be with us, just period, until we get to heaven when he wipes away every tear from our eyes. But you don't have to be afraid of that pain that is inevitably coming, or that loss.
I was thinking of, so many times it gets frustrating because as Christians we'll get called, I don't go to church because Christians are hypocrites. Mm-hmm. They'll preach something on Sunday, but you ought to see the way they act Monday through Friday. And sometimes that bothers me. I'm like, who are you to judge me as a Christian? But at the end of the day, if you're preaching love and mercy to a coworker or an employee, mm-hmm. and then they see you just over here acting like an idiot, mm-hmm. why wouldn't they think? I'm thinking of a lady that works for us. I work with her. I mean, she's a wonderful lady. And tried to witness to her, and she's like, I have no interest in y'all's Jesus, whatever y'all call him, just really, she's really offended. I said, I'm sorry about that. She goes, hey, I don't begrudge you. She goes, but I spent every Sunday on the front row in a pew at our church, and I was dressed in the cutest dresses, and my mom and dad, they were popular, and they were picture perfect for 2 hours on Sunday. And then I got home and I got cussed at and I got beat and I got scolded and I got thrown in my room, and my dad put his hands on my mom and on me, and she says, I have no use for it. Mm-hmm. And so because her parents said things with their mouth, their hearts were black as oil. Mm-hmm. When she got older, she's like, I don't want nothing to do with Jesus, because that was the precedence that was set in her life. And
that is heartbreaking. It
is heartbreaking. And I get a little bit of progress with her periodically. It breaks my heart for her, because it's like I just tell her Jesus. I try to just convey that Jesus didn't hurt you, but it's hard to defend the faith with her. But I'm making small progress.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So you are defending the faith. In that case, you are defending the faith for the hope that's in you. Because what does she not have? Hope.
Yeah.
She doesn't have hope.
No.
She's ripped to shreds by that. Satan's done a great job of stepping in there and putting blinders over her face that are as thick, thick and tough as steel.
You know what I'm thinking too? Walls. I mean, I can tell you, she's seen me frustrated because we work closely together, and she's heard me say words I shouldn't say. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here thinking every time I do that, it just reminds her one more time of why she's not part of church.
It's why honoring God. I mean, great way to throw yourself under the bus. That's always true. Yeah. It's our realist.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, it is. And me too. I can relate to that. I'll get frustrated at work. I sent out an email earlier this week giving everybody the day off for Good Friday, and then telling them who Jesus is and telling them, let's start a Bible study. But as I was writing that email, I felt the same way. They have seen me frustrated, yelling, cussing, like they have seen the worst of me. My witness is a bit soiled. And that is not, there have been many times I have not honored God in that office. There have been many, many times. I am so convicted right now.
Oh, I am too. Cause I was just talking to a coworker today. Like, I don't know where my joy has went. Like, I feel like I work uptight all the time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, as we're back in this topic, I'm like, well, if I don't have joy, it's because, never mind. I'm a big fella, but I've about flattened myself out with the bus tires today. I just hope it helps somebody else, because I'm trying to be as transparent as I can as possible. Like, I'm blessed beyond way more than I'm blessed beyond my deservingness of anything.
There is a St. Augustine quote that helps me kind of recenter and refocus, and because we can lose joy, but why did we? And we can lose our peace, but why did we? And this one there is some kind of ingratitude that keeps us from, especially when we're getting hit over and over and over. You do start to get to like, why is this happening to me? Or just things not going right, and you're just shoving it, oh, well, no big deal. You're not dealing it too many times, but it generally boils down to some kind of some step we're missing. And so this one helps me. It's let it be sunshine or let it be frost, rain or storm, as thou shalt choose. Though thine every gift were lost, thee thyself we could not lose. And it's like just this centering thing for me, even if there's nothing, even if all the good gifts that he gave me, which only the good things that I have only came from him. The good things that I have only came from the Lord. That's the only place that they flow from. Mm-hmm. And though all his gifts were lost, my, business, spouse, children, even if they were all gone, all the good gifts from him I could never lose. And it's just a nice centering way to get back and to honor the Lord. Mm-hmm.
It is a good reminder that it's not, don't be discouraged when you're taking steps to become the person that God wants you to be and to use the talents well. that God has blessed you with. And I think while we're on that note, if you're going to start diving into apologetics, if you're going to start trying to train yourself to prepare yourself, like don't think you got to be Vodi Bakum. Don't think, the environment that's around you that God's, but he's the one that I talked to at the beginning, spoke to at the beginning. He's a good Christian apologist, or whatever Christian apologist that you enjoy, whoever, pastor, whatever in the case may be, Lee Strobel, like whoever. Mm-hmm. God may or may not call you that in the future. It's a journey. You're taking the steps, take the steps, have some grace for yourself. It's fine. You're going to mess up. You're not going to just become the greatest Christian apologist in the world because you read one book, the greatest at defending the faith instantly. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be, I've seen both of you guys over the years. You've both seen me over the years for decades and decades. And so we've seen the growth in each other. You're throwing yourselves under the bus, and that's awesome. We do that here to help anybody that's listening, and also so that we're convicted. But it doesn't, be having an awareness. That's why the Bible says to take up your cross daily. It's a daily thing that we have to do. And so it's not going to, all happen overnight, but do be encouraged by the fact that you're taking the steps. Man, I'm going to start trying to train myself better this way. I'm going to start taking the steps. And when I fall down, I'm going to recognize it. I'm going to own it. And, but I'm not going to live in shame. I'm going to go ahead and be guilty. We talked about that not too long ago. And that's fine. I'm guilty, but I don't have time to live in shame because I just have this short life. But God has blessed me with the grace. That's why I have hope. I do have hope because Christ has given it to me, and he's grown me to the point that I'm at now, which thankfully is not where I was 10 years ago and certainly not 20 years ago. And so it's exciting to see, okay, now I'm recognizing this. Now I'm taking this step and cool, just like y'all both did on here and say, oh my gosh, I did this. And like Satan's going to try to take that, turn that to shame. And oh gosh, why do anything? Like, why do you even think that? No, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep taking these steps. I'm going to trust the Holy Spirit that's in me. And that's even more testimony when they see that, like, hey man, I noticed that you used to do this right in front of me. You tried to, Jared, you tried to witness to me, and then I told you that, and then man, for the longest time I noticed that you would swear, or you would do this and that, or you would tell a joke this or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden that change, like what's happening? Where's this? It's the hope that's in you, right? I mean, if she sees that change, you continue that path. But if Satan can get you to shut up, and Jenny, you too, like, okay, oh my gosh, I've said this thing. It's hard running a company, a big company, especially, and the stresses that come with that. Right. But great, I've witnessed the growth in you over the last few years, and leaps and bounds, and it's very important to you. And I think, man, I think that is testimony. In fact, I know that's testimony. But Satan would try to get you to, oh God, wait, you told them you're going to start a Bible study? Like, what?
I would say, I think just because it's in me as a leader, as running a business or whatever I'm doing, like I realize I haven't lost my standing, my eternal standing with Christ.
Yes.
But I do have a mindset of always wanting continually to improve, whether it be the way I take care of my yard, whatever it is, at work. And so I think, and I'm going to speak this of Jenny because it feels weird saying this about myself. So I think Jenny's a great, I think Jenny's a great leader. And I think great leaders always run every area of their life through a lens of excellence, and it's easy to find things that we need to be better at. Mm-hmm.
And that one, it did. When I went to send that email out, I felt the conviction then, but I didn't pay attention to it a lot at the time because I needed to send the email out. I knew I felt convicted about a Bible study for a very long time, and I needed to send it out. But then I feel like as sitting here, it seems to me that us sitting here and having this discussion and coming back around, like it's what, like you said, it shouldn't keep you from doing the things, do it. But now answer the conviction.
Well, you added a layer of accountability to your life, though. Mm-hmm. Like you're naturally going to grow because you're like, okay, they've seen the raw version of me, the happy me, the mad me. They know how I can act. And now I'm going to do this Bible study. And I think it just automatically is going to change you because you've asked for that accountability by doing that.
Yeah.
Self-imposed accountability.
So feel free if you hear me ranting and raving in there, Henry.
Okay. Well, wait for her to calm down first.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'll just walk in and soft answer it. You'll be fine.
Just walk in and say, how's that Bible study going?
Yeah.
I'll feel it immediately. I'll be like, get out. Get out so I can cry.
Yeah. Or you'll probably, if I walk in there, you'll be already knowing.
How's your heart?
I know.
What color is the fluid of your heart?
Yeah. Those are good.
Yeah.
That's a good one too. Yep.
Well, I thought this thing was going to start out flat. Like we
Well, it did start out flat.
Well,
it did start out.
It just like, boom.
Yeah. Oh, God.
What do y'all think? And we're just like.
I was feeling sorry for Henry over there trying to figure out how can I help, but nothing was coming to my brain, not one thing. So I'm like reading scriptures on my phone, like, is there anything here?
That were staring back at me.
So,
man, it was painful. But we got the plane off the ground, right?
We got it off.
Crashed.
We got it.
Real quick, kind of changing the subject briefly, but for those that don't know, Miles is a phenomenally gifted, talented person, musically, artistically, photographically. Did y'all have either of y'all photographerly? Yeah, okay. That's my word.
Okay, don't like it.
Did either of y'all listen to the music that he sent out?
I tried. It wouldn't come to me. Remember?
Oh,
or maybe you didn't notice that it wouldn't come.
It is so good.
So I got another one.
Oh my God.
And then,
yeah, me too.
What messed him up is like, dude. And I just threw a name out there and I was like, is this so-and-so? And he's like, there's no way you know that. Whoever's doing his lyrics, but I was sworn to secrecy because he was like, you cannot breathe a word that you know that. I was like, okay. So anyway. Yeah. The girl that sings the lyrics.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's phenomenal if you knew, but the music's phenomenal. I can't wait till it comes out and we can share it with everybody else, but it is
ridiculous.
It's like
that you know what? When someone like dangles that carrot in front of you
it makes me so mad. I'm like, why did you even tell us?
I know, Jared.
Like he just wanted to brag that he knows who it is.
Well, I'm hoping when they release the
you
music,
talk about sucking the hope out of something.
No, it's like, well, who is it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping when they release the
nobody
music,
likes them know-it-all.
I hope when they release the music that becomes public because it'll be
no, it's not
shocking.
going to. They already said they're not doing it.
Oh, that's too bad for y'all.
Make it public.
That's too bad for y'all
because they don't want
unless we can figure it out too.
Yeah.
But I don't get to hear the thing. Like I've
got it. We can listen to it in a minute. I'll let you hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So, my final thought would just be, does it honor Christ? Does it honor Christ? It's what you're doing. And that's what, since I've been thinking about this, in what I'm doing, in how I'm talking to people, in every moment of my life, in how I'm doing business, in how I'm spending my time, in what food I'm putting into my mouth, whatever it may be, am I honoring? Does this honor Christ? Does this put him on a place on the throne that says, I'm so appreciative for the sacrifice that you've made for me? Is what I'm doing, is how I'm stewarding the life I've been blessed with, doing that. That would be my final thought.
Yeah. I don't have a final thought.
Okay.
I'll just point you back to the easy 1-2 steps of how to get there, which is, change what you put in your eyes and change what you put in your ears.
Yeah.
That's great.
Start there.
Yep.
Love it. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel.
Amen.
Clearly not a professional.